Wyoming Territory, December 1876. Abigail Morgan's frozen fingers clawed through snow-covered garbage behind a stranger's barn searching for anything her daughters could eat. When the rotting apple touched her palm, she didn't cry. She'd run out of tears weeks ago. She just wiped the mold on her torn skirt and handed it to 8-year-old Maggie, who bit into it without complaint, because hunger had taught her not to expect better. That's when the barn door opened, and the man standing there holding a lantern would change everything they thought they knew about survival kindness and what it meant to be seen as human again. Before we begin, hit that subscribe button and stay until the end. I want to see how far this story travels. Comment the city you're watching from. Now, let's begin. The wind cut like knives. Abigail pressed against the barn wall, breath white in the darkness, and listened. Beside her, Maggie worked silently, scraping mold off frozen apples with bitten-down fingernails. No complaints, no tears. 8 years old, and already she'd stopped being a child. Lily stood perfectly still, 6 years old, clutching a filthy cloth doll, too weak to do anything but stand and shiver. "Mama," Lily's whisper barely carried over the wind. "My hands." Abigail wrapped her own frozen hands around her daughter's, tried to share warmth that didn't exist. "I know, baby. We're almost done stealing," Maggie said. Flat. Empty. The word hit Abigail like a fist. Stealing. "These fell off the tree. Nobody wants them." "Then why are we hiding?" No answer. Because Maggie was right. Because they were thieves now. Because 3 months ago, Abigail had been a respectable woman with a home and a husband, and now she was teaching her daughters to scavenge garbage in the dark. She turned back to the scattered fruit. Most of it black with rot frozen solid. Inedible even by their standards. But here and there pieces that might be salvageable. Soft spots she could cut away. Fragments that hadn't completely surrendered. It wasn't food, but it was something. And something was all they had. Maggie knelt beside her. Not the child who used to laugh. That girl died somewhere between Pennsylvania and here. The creature beside her now was harder, quieter, older than any child should be. "Mama, I found 3 good ones." "Good girl." They worked fast. Abigail's hands shook from cold and hunger and 3 months of walking. 3 months since James kissed her goodbye and rode off to the Montana silver mines. 6 months, he'd said. "I'll send money. You'll see." That was June. This was December. And the only thing she'd received was silence. So she'd packed what they could carry and started walking. If he wouldn't send for them, she'd find him herself. Or die trying. "Mama." Lily's voice. Small. Frightened. "Someone's coming." Abigail froze. Heard it. Boots crunching snow. Deliberate. Close. Coming around the corner. Her blood turned to ice. No time to run. Lily couldn't run. No time to hide. Nowhere to go. She stood slowly, pulled both girls behind her, prepared for whatever came next. The man who rounded the corner was tall, broad-shouldered, heavy sheepskin coat, hat shadowing his face. He stopped 10 feet away. This was it. He'd call her a thief, call the law, tell her to get off his land before he set the dogs loose. Abigail lifted her chin, found some scrap of dignity in the ruins of her pride. "Please, sir, we weren't... How long since you ate?" The question caught her completely off guard. That wasn't what people said when they caught you stealing. "Ma'am?" His voice was quiet, steady. "I asked how long since you and those girls had a proper meal." Abigail's throat closed. When was the last time really ate? 3 days. Maggie answered. "A lady at a church gave us bread. Before that, it was longer." The man's jaw tightened. "You've been sleeping rough." "We found a cave last night. It kept the wind off." A cave. He repeated it like he was testing whether it was real. Jesus Christ. He pulled off his coat. That expensive sheepskin coat. Held it out. Put this on the little one. Abigail stared. We can't. I'm not asking. Gentle but firm. Put it on her before she freezes. Abigail's hands moved, took the coat, wrapped it around Lily. The little girl disappeared into it, eyes going wide. Mama, it's so warm. Now. The man gestured toward the house, golden light in the windows. You're all coming inside. I've got stew and a fire. You'll eat, get warm, then we'll figure out what comes next. We can't accept. You keep saying what you can't do. He cut her off, not unkindly. How about you focus on what you can do? You can walk 50 yards, you can sit by a fire, you can eat some food. The question is, will you? Why? The word burst out. Why would you help us? We're nothing to you. He was quiet for a long moment. Because somebody helped me once when I needed it, and I swore I'd return the favor. He paused. Looks like today's that chance. Abigail felt something crack in her chest. Not hope. She didn't dare hope, but maybe the memory of it. What's your name? Nathaniel Cartwright. Folks call me Nate. He tipped his hat. And you are? Abigail Morgan. This is Maggie and Lily. Well, Mrs. Morgan, are you going to stand here arguing while your daughters freeze, or are you going to let me do one decent thing today? Maggie tugged Abigail's sleeve. Mama, please. Lily's shaking even with the coat. Abigail looked at her daughters. Hollow cheeks, desperate eyes, complete exhaustion in every line of their small bodies. She thought about pride, dignity, all the rules about accepting charity from strangers. Then she thought about Lily eating rotten apples in the snow, and suddenly none of those rules mattered. All right, thank you. Nate nodded, turned toward the house, didn't look back, giving them the dignity of choosing to follow. Abigail wrapped her arms around both girls and started walking. Every step she waited for the catch, for the strings, for this kindness to reveal its price. Because nothing was free. Every gift came with debt. But Nate just kept walking, leading them toward that golden light like it was the most natural thing in the world. The house was small, one main room, stone fireplace, wooden table, rope frame bed in the corner, and heat-blessed overwhelming heat that hit Abigail like a wall the moment Nate opened the door. Sit. He gestured to chairs near the fire. Close as you want. The girls fell into the chairs, held their hands to the flames. Lily made a sound half sob, half sigh, and Abigail realized her youngest had forgotten what warmth felt like. Nate moved to the stove, ladled something into wooden bowls. The smell hit Abigail hard. Real food, hot food, beef and vegetables, and something that might have been salvation. Just stew, nothing fancy, but it's hot and there's plenty. He set bowls in front of them. Lily grabbed her spoon with both hands, started eating like someone might take it away. Maggie tried to be controlled, proper, but her hands shook so hard she could barely hold the spoon. Abigail just stared at the bowl. When was the last time someone served her food? You all right, ma'am? She looked up, found Nate watching her, not judging, just seeing her. I don't know what I am anymore. You're tired. You're scared. You're doing your best in a situation that would break most people. Something in her chest loosened. She picked up her spoon. Ate. The food was so good she wanted to cry, but she'd learned months ago that crying was a luxury she couldn't afford. They ate in silence. Only sounds the fire crackling and spoons scraping wood. Nate sat across from them drinking coffee, watching like he needed to make sure they were real. Where you headed? He asked finally. Abigail set down her spoon. Montana. Silver mines. Looking for my husband. How long's he been gone? Left in June. Was supposed to send for us. She paused. He didn't. Nate's expression didn't change. Montana's 300 miles north. Winter's setting in hard. I know. You planning to walk it, unless you know another way with no money and no horse. And if you get there and He stopped, glanced at the girls. Then we'll figure something else out. We always do. Mama's really good at figuring things out, Maggie said softly. She got us all the way from Pennsylvania. Abigail's throat closed. The faith in her daughter's voice was unbearable. Your mama's tougher than most men I know, Nate said. That's the truth. Are you going to make us leave? Lily asked suddenly, eyes huge in her thin face. After we eat. Nate's face did something complicated. No, sweetheart. You're not going back outside, not tonight. Where are we sleeping? That bed. Big enough for all three of you. I'll take the chair. We can't take your bed, Abigail protested. You can, and you will. He stood, gathered their bowls. I've slept in worse places than a chair. End of discussion. But... He looked at her, eyes kind but unyielding. Mrs. Morgan. I know you're proud. I respect that. But your girls are exhausted and you're about to fall over. This isn't charity. This is human decency. Tomorrow you can argue all you want. Tonight you accept help. Agreed. Abigail wanted to fight. Wanted to prove she didn't need anyone. But Lily was swaying with exhaustion. Maggie's eyes were drooping, and she herself felt like she might shatter if she had to be strong for one more second. Agreed. Good. There's a wash basin in the corner. Quilts on the bed are clean. Help yourselves. Abigail got the girls ready for bed. Washed their faces and hands in water that wasn't frozen. Combed their hair with her fingers. Tucked them under quilts so thick it felt like being buried in clouds. Mama, Lily whispered, is this real? Yes, baby. It feels like a dream. We're not dreaming. We're here. We're safe. For how long? Abigail didn't have an answer. So she kissed Lily's forehead. For tonight, that's enough. Maggie was already asleep. Face relaxed in a way Abigail hadn't seen in months. Lily followed. Breathing evening out. Small body finally still. Abigail sat on the edge of the bed, watching them, feeling the weight of every choice, every mile, every moment of the last 3 months crushing down on her. They're good girls. She turned. Nate stood a respectful distance away, 2 cups of coffee in his hands. He held one out. Thank you. She took it, wrapped her hands around the warmth. He settled into a chair near the fire, giving her space. How long you been on the road? 3 months. Started in Pennsylvania in September. James left in June. I waited as long as I could. She laughed without humor. Thought we'd make Montana before winter. 3 months, on foot, with 2 little girls. He shook his head. That's something. That's desperation. Same thing sometimes. They sat in silence, the fire crackling, outside wind howling, but inside warm, safe, almost peaceful. Can I ask you something? Abigail said. Sure. What do you really want from us? Nate stared into his coffee for a long time. Nothing, he said finally. I want nothing from you. Everyone wants something. Not everyone. He looked up, met her eyes. Someone helped me once. They didn't want anything either. They just helped. And they made me promise that if I ever got the chance, I'd do the same. Who were they? Don't know. Family passing through about 3 years back. Never even got their names. He paused. But they saved my life, so I figure the least I can do is pass it on. Abigail studied his face, trying to see the lie, the angle, the catch. But all she saw was a man who meant exactly what he said. I don't know how to thank you. Then don't. Just let yourself rest. It was too much. The kindness, the warmth, the sudden safety after months of fear. Her hands started shaking. She set down the coffee cup before she dropped it, pressed her palms to her eyes, tried to breathe. But her throat closed and her vision blurred, and then before she could stop herself, she was crying. Not quiet tears, great gasping sobs that shook her whole body. 3 months of holding it together. 3 months of being strong. And now, in this warm cabin, with a stranger who'd shown more kindness in 1 hour than most people had shown in her entire life, she broke. Nate didn't move. Didn't try to comfort her or tell her it was okay. He just sat there, steady, solid, and let her fall apart. When the tears finally stopped, Abigail wiped her eyes on her sleeve. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. You're entitled." His voice was gentle. "You've been holding it together for 3 months. You're allowed to break. Just for a minute. Maybe 2. She managed a weak smile. They sat as the fire burned low, wind screaming outside, and for the first time since Pennsylvania, Abigail let herself imagine that maybe they'd survive this. "Mr. Cartwright, Nate." She looked at him. "Thank you. I'll never forget this." "You're welcome, Mrs. Morgan." He stood, added wood to the fire. "Now get some sleep. You look like you haven't slept properly in weeks." "I haven't." "Then tonight you will. I'll keep watch. You're safe here." And somehow, impossibly, she believed him. She climbed into bed beside her daughters, pulled the quilts to her chin, and for the first time in 93 nights, she let herself relax. Let her guard down. Let someone else carry the weight. Her last thought before sleep: tomorrow I'll be strong again. Tomorrow I'll figure out the next step. But tonight I'll let myself be saved. Outside, snow began to fall. Heavy, thick. The kind of snow that buried roads and trapped travelers and killed anyone caught unprepared. Nate watched through the window, added more wood to the fire, settled into his chair with his rifle across his knees. Old habits. He looked at the 3 figures sleeping in his bed. Woman and 2 girls who'd been 1 frozen night away from dying. He'd given them tonight. Warmth, food, safety. Tomorrow he'd figure out how to give them more. Because Montana was 300 miles through mountain passes and Sioux territory and storms that could bury a wagon train. She'd never make it. Not with 2 little girls, not in winter. Which meant tomorrow he'd have to convince her of something she didn't want to hear. That sometimes the bravest thing you could do was stop running. He thought about Sarah. 3 years dead. 3 years of this cabin being empty except for ghosts and regrets. 3 years of going through motions and calling it living. Maybe that family was right. Maybe helping someone else was how you helped yourself. Maybe saving someone was how you got saved. The wind howled. The fire crackled. And Nathaniel Cartwright kept watch through the long Wyoming night, standing guard over 3 strangers who'd stumbled into his life, carrying nothing but hunger and hope and each other. Outside, the storm came on hard and fast. By morning, 2 feet of snow would bury the road north, and Abigail Morgan's plans would have to change, whether she wanted them to or not. Abigail woke to the sound of nothing. No wind, no howling. Just silence so complete it felt like the world had stopped breathing. She opened her eyes. Gray light filtered through the cabin's single window. Maggie and Lily were still asleep beside her, curled together like puppies, their faces peaceful in a way that made Abigail's chest ache. She sat up slowly. Every muscle protested. 3 months of walking had left her body a collection of pains she'd learned to ignore. But here in the warmth and the safety, her body finally admitted how broken it was. Nate was at the stove, his back to her, moving quietly. "Morning," he said without turning around. "Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't." Abigail swung her legs out of bed. What time is it? Near about 8. You slept hard. I don't remember the last time I slept past dawn. That's because you haven't felt safe enough to sleep. He glanced over his shoulder. Coffee's ready. She stood, walked to the window, and stopped. Snow. Everywhere. 2 feet at least, maybe more. Covering everything. The road north had disappeared completely. Even the barn was barely visible through the white. Jesus, she whispered. Came down hard around midnight. Didn't stop till an hour ago. Nate poured coffee into a tin cup. Brought it to her. You're not going anywhere today. Maybe not for a few days. Abigail's hands shook as she took the cup. We can't stay here for days. We've already imposed. You haven't imposed, and you're not walking in that. Nobody could. You'd be dead before you made it a mile. But, no buts, Mrs. Morgan. The decision's made. Storm made it for you. His voice was gentle but firm. You and the girls stay here until the road's clear. That's just how it is. Abigail looked at the snow, at the impossible wall of white blocking every path forward. Part of her wanted to argue, wanted to prove she could handle it, could push through, could keep going no matter what. But another part, a deeper, quieter part, felt something close to relief. How long do you think, she asked. Before the road's clear, week at least. Maybe 2 if another storm comes through. 2 weeks. She said it like she was testing the weight of it. Is that a problem? I don't know. She turned to face him. We can't just live off your charity for 2 weeks. I need to work, earn our keep somehow. You that afraid of accepting help? I'm that afraid of being in debt I can't repay. Nate studied her for a moment. All right. You want to work, you can work. I need help around here anyway. Cooking, mending, basic upkeep. I've been living like a bachelor too long. Place could use a woman's touch. What about money I should pay rent? Stop. He held up a hand. You're not paying me rent. But if it makes you feel better, we'll call it an exchange. You help me run this place. I give you room and board until the storm passes and the road's clear. Fair? It wasn't fair. Not really. What she'd be doing wasn't worth 1/10 of what he was giving them. But the alternative was admitting she was helpless. Admitting she needed charity. And Abigail Morgan hadn't admitted that yet. Wouldn't admit it now. Fair, she said. Good, then it's settled. He moved back to the stove, started cracking eggs into a pan. You hungry? Starving. Girls like eggs. Girls like anything that's not rotten apples. He smiled at that. Small, brief, but genuine. Then eggs it is. Maggie woke first, sat up in bed, looked around like she was trying to remember where she was. Then her eyes found Abigail, and her whole body relaxed. Mama. Right here, baby. We're still here. It wasn't a dream. Not a dream. Lily woke crying, soft, confused tears that came from waking in a strange place. Abigail scooped her up, held her close. Shh. You're okay. We're okay. Where are we? Mr. Cartwright's house. Remember, he gave us dinner last night. The nice man. Yes, the nice man. Nate set plates on the table. Eggs and bacon and bread toasted over the fire. More food than the girls had seen in weeks. Come eat, he said, while it's hot. They ate like wolves. Even Abigail couldn't slow down. The food was simple but perfect, and her body screamed for it. Needed it. Had been running on empty for so long she'd forgotten what fuel felt like. There's more if you want it, Nate said. Don't be shy. This is plenty, Abigail said, even though it wasn't. Even though she could have eaten twice as much. You sure, because you look like you haven't had a decent meal in months? I'm sure. He looked at her, didn't believe her, but didn't push. Maggie finished first, set down her fork with careful precision. Mr. Cartwright, sir, thank you for breakfast. It was very good. You're welcome, miss. Mama says we're staying for a while, because of the snow. That's right. Are you sure we're not a burden? The question came out so adult, so careful, like she'd learned to ask it before people decided on their own. Nate knelt down so he was eye level with her. You're not a burden, Maggie. You're guests. And guests are supposed to be here. That's what makes them guests instead of burdens. But we don't have anything to give you. You don't need to give me anything. Everyone wants something. Nate was quiet for a moment. Then he said, What I want is for you and your sister and your mama to be warm and safe until that storm passes. That's all. That's the only thing I want. Can you let me have that? Maggie thought about it, then nodded. Okay. Good girl. He stood, caught Abigail's eye, and she saw something in his face that made her throat tight. Understanding. Recognition. He knew what it cost to accept help. Knew what it meant to have an 8-year-old asking if she was a burden. He knew because he'd been there too. After breakfast, Nate showed Abigail around. The cabin was small, but organized. Everything had a place. Everything served a purpose. Root cellars out back, he said. Got potatoes, carrots, onions, some preserved meat. Enough to get through winter if we're careful. You're here now, so it's we. She didn't know how to respond to that, so she just nodded. Chickens in the barn need feeding every morning. I'll show you how much. And there's a cow Bessie needs milking twice a day. I know how to milk a cow. Good. Then you can handle that while I take care of the horses. How many horses you got? 3. 2 for work, 1 for riding. Abigail did the math in her head. 3 horses, a cow, chickens, a homestead this size, all for 1 man. You run this whole place alone. I do now. His voice went flat. Used to have help. She wanted to ask, wanted to know his story, but something in his expression stopped her. Some wall that said not yet, not now. So instead she said, What else needs doing? Mending. I've got shirts with holes, socks that need darning. Haven't had time to keep up with it. I can do that. Cooking too. I can manage, but I'm not good at it. If you can make meals, that'd be a help. I can cook. Then we're set. He looked out the window at the snow. Storm's got us trapped for a while. Might as well make the best of it. The first day passed in a blur of work. Abigail threw herself into it with desperate focus, needing to prove she wasn't helpless, needing to earn her place. She cooked, she cleaned, she mended 3 shirts and 4 pairs of socks. She milked Bessie twice and collected eggs from the chickens and swept the cabin floor until her back ached. Maggie helped, quiet and competent, learning quickly, never complaining. Lily mostly stayed by the fire, playing with her doll, too young to help much. But she watched everything with those big eyes, taking it all in. Nate worked outside, clearing paths through the snow, checking on the animals, chopping wood. He came in for meals and coffee, but mostly he stayed out of the way, giving them space. By evening, Abigail was exhausted, but it was a good exhaustion, the kind that came from honest work instead of desperate survival. You didn't have to do all that, Nate said as they sat down to dinner. Stew she'd made from the root vegetables and preserved beef. Nothing fancy, but hot and filling. Yes, I did. Why? Because I don't take charity. This isn't charity. This is shelter during a storm. There's a difference. Not to me. He studied her across the table. You're stubborn. I'm practical. Same thing sometimes. She almost smiled at that. They ate in silence. The girls were already yawning, exhausted from the day, from finally feeling safe enough to relax. Mr. Cartwright, Maggie said, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you live here all alone? I do. Doesn't it get lonely? Abigail started to interrupt Maggie. That's not polite, but Nate held up a hand. Sometimes, he said. But I've got the animals, and work, Keeps me busy. We lived alone too, after Papa left. Just us three. Maggie paused. It was lonely even with three of us. I don't know how you do it with just one. Nate's face did something complicated. You get used to it. I don't think I would. Let's hope you never have to. After dinner, Abigail got the girls ready for bed. They were asleep almost before their heads hit the pillow, completely spent. She returned to the fire, found Nate sitting with coffee staring into the flames. You mind if I join you? She asked. Be my guest. She sat, accepted the coffee he poured for her. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Your daughter's perceptive, Nate said finally. Too perceptive. She sees things children shouldn't see. That's what happens when they grow up too fast. She wasn't always like this. Before James left, she was lighter, happier. She used to sing all the time. Now I can't remember the last time I heard her laugh. She'll get it back. Once things settle, once she feels safe again. You think we'll ever feel safe again? Nate looked at her. I think you're safe right now. That's a start. Abigail wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that safety was possible. But 3 months on the road had taught her that safety was an illusion, a temporary condition that could vanish any second. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Yesterday you said someone helped you, that you were in a bad way. What happened? Nate was quiet for a long time. So long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then he said, My wife died, 3 years ago this January. I'm sorry. Her name was Sarah. She got sick fever and there wasn't a doctor close enough to help. I watched her die over 4 days. Couldn't do a damn thing about it. Abigail's chest tightened. I can't imagine. After that, I didn't much care about living. This place, the work, all of it felt empty. I was just going through motions, waiting to die, I suppose. He paused. Then that family came through. They saw me half drunk in my own field, and instead of riding on, they stopped, fed me, talked to me, reminded me I was human. And they made you promise to help someone else. They did. Said kindness only matters if you pass it on. He looked at her. So that's what I'm doing, passing it on. Abigail felt tears threatening. James used to be kind. Before the bank took the farm. Before everything fell apart. He was a good man. What happened? Failure broke him. He couldn't handle losing everything, couldn't face being the man who lost his family's land. So he ran, told himself he was going to fix it, going to strike it rich and make everything right. Her voice cracked. But I think he just couldn't stand to watch us suffer because of his mistakes. That's not your fault. Isn't it? I could have found work, could have sold more, could have... Stop. Nate's voice was firm. You did everything you could. Sometimes everything isn't enough. That doesn't make it your fault. Then whose fault is it? Nobody's. Sometimes life just breaks people, breaks situations, and all you can do is survive it. They sat with that for a while, the fire crackling, the snow falling outside. 2 broken people trying to figure out how to be whole again. Nate, Abigail said softly, what if James is dead? What if I walked all this way for nothing? Then you didn't walk for nothing. You walked for your girls, to give them a chance. That's not nothing. But what do I do then? Where do we go? I don't know, but you'll figure it out. You've made it this far. Barely. Barely still counts. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that barely was enough. But sitting there in the warmth of his cabin with her daughters asleep in his bed living off his charity, no matter what he called it, barely didn't feel like enough at all. The second day Abigail woke before dawn. Couldn't sleep. Too many thoughts crowding her head. She slipped out of bed, found Nate already up, already making coffee. You're up early, he said. Couldn't sleep. Bad dreams. No dreams, just thoughts. He handed her coffee. Want to talk about it? Not really. Fair enough. They stood at the window, watching the sky lighten. The snow glowed pale blue in the pre-dawn light, beautiful and deadly. How long you think we have? She asked. Before the road's clear. Week at least, maybe more. And then what? Then you decide what you want to do. I want to find James, even if he's not worth finding. The question hit her like a slap. What's that supposed to mean? It means a man who leaves his wife and children to chase gold and doesn't send a single letter in 6 months might not be the man you think he is. You don't know him. You're right, I don't. But I know men, and I know what desperation does to them. Sometimes it makes them brave. Sometimes it makes them cowards. He paused. Question is, which one was James? Abigail wanted to defend him. Wanted to say James was brave, was trying, was going to come through. But the truth was, she didn't know anymore. He was a good man, she said quietly. Before. Before doesn't matter. Only now matters. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Mrs. Morgan. You know that better than most. She did. God, she did. They stood in silence, drinking coffee, watching the snow. If James is dead, Nate said carefully, or if he's alive but doesn't want to be found, what then? I don't know. You need to start thinking about it, because Montana's 300 miles through hostile territory in the dead of winter. And even if you make it, even if you find him, there's no guarantee he'll be the man you left behind. So, what are you saying I should give up? I'm saying you should have a plan that doesn't depend on a man who hasn't written in 6 months. I can't just give up on him. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to give up on killing yourself and your daughters chasing a ghost. The words hung in the air between them, sharp, true, unbearable. You don't understand, Abigail said. Then help me understand. I gave him 17 years. I gave him a home and children and everything I had. I can't just walk away without knowing. Even if knowing kills you. Yes, even then. Nate was quiet for a long time. Then he said, All right. Then when the road's clear, I'll take you. Abigail's head snapped up. What? Montana, I'll take you. Me and a wagon and supplies. We'll go together. You can't, why would you? Because you're going to go whether I help you or not. And if you go alone, you'll die. So I'll take you. Make sure you get there alive at least. Nate, that's too much. I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm offering. But your ranch, your animals. You can't just leave for weeks. My neighbor can watch the place. He's done it before. Why? The question burst out of her. Why would you do this? Because I made a promise. And because if I let you walk out of here and die in the snow, I'll never forgive myself. Abigail felt her eyes burning. You barely know me. I know enough. You're a fool. Probably. They stood there. Two stubborn people trying to outstubborn each other. Finally, Abigail said, If we do this, if you really come with us, I'll pay you back. Somehow. Every cent. Every day of work. I'll... Stop. He looked at her. This isn't about payment. This is about making sure 3 people don't die alone in the snow. That's all. Nothing's that simple. This is. She wanted to argue. Wanted to find the catch, the angle. The reason this couldn't possibly be real. But all she saw in his face was honesty. And maybe that was the most terrifying thing of all. Okay, she whispered. Okay. When the road's clear, we go together. Together, he agreed. And somehow, impossibly, Abigail felt hope for the first time in months. Not just the memory of hope. Real hope. Fragile and terrifying and alive. Dead. The days fell into a rhythm. Abigail worked. Nate worked. The girls slowly started to relax, to smile, to act like children instead of survivors. Maggie learned to gather eggs without breaking them, learned to help with cooking, even started talking more. Little observations about the weather or the animals or nothing at all. Lily played, just played, with her doll and with rocks and with bits of string. Playing like she hadn't played in months, being 6 years old instead of a small, frightened ghost. And Abigail watched them transform, watched them come back to life, and felt something in her chest crack open just a little. On the 5th day, Nate took Maggie out to the barn, taught her how to brush the horses, showed her how to check their hooves, talked to her like she was capable, like she mattered. "Your papa teach you about horses?" he asked. "A little, before he left." "He have a farm?" "Small one. Wheat mostly. Some vegetables." "You miss it?" Maggie was quiet for a moment. "I miss having a home. I don't know if I miss the farm. Everything there was sad at the end." "Sometimes places get sad. Doesn't mean you failed. Just means the place ran its course. Mama thinks she failed. Your mama's wrong. She didn't fail. She survived. There's a difference." Maggie looked up at him. "Do you think my papa's alive?" Nate didn't lie to her, didn't sugarcoat it. "I don't know, sweetheart. I hope so. But even if he's not, you and your mama and Lily, you're going to be okay. You understand?" "How do you know?" "Because your mama's the toughest woman I've ever met, and you're just like her." Maggie smiled, small, uncertain, but real. And watching from the cabin window, Abigail felt her heart crack a little more. On the 7th day, the snow finally stopped. The sky cleared. Sun came out bright and blinding on all that white. "Roads should clear in a few days," Nate said. "Maybe a week. Then we should start preparing." "We should." But neither of them moved, both of them standing at the window, looking at the snow, thinking about what came next. "Nate," Abigail said quietly, "what if we get there, and what if he's not who I remember? Then you deal with it, same way you've dealt with everything else." "I don't know if I'm strong enough." "You are. You just don't know it yet." She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe she was strong, but strength felt like something she'd borrowed, something that could be taken back any second. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Good. Fear keeps you careful." "How do you keep going when you're so afraid you can barely breathe?" "You just do. One foot in front of the other, one day at a time, one breath at a time if that's all you can manage." "Is that how you did it after Sarah died?" "That's exactly how I did it." They stood together in silence. Two people who'd lost everything. Two people trying to figure out how to build something from the ruins. And outside, the snow began to melt. Slowly, but melting. The letter came on the 9th day. Nate rode into town for supplies. First time, the roads were clear enough and came back with more than flour and coffee. He came back with an envelope, stained and wrinkled. Addressed to Mrs. James Morgan, care of General Delivery Independence, Wyoming Territory. Abigail was kneading bread when he walked in. She looked up, saw his face, knew immediately something had changed. "What is it?" He held out the envelope. "Postmaster said this came in 3 weeks ago. Been sitting there. He remembered you asking about mail back in November." Her hands were covered in flour. She wiped them on her apron. Took the letter. The handwriting wasn't James's. Too neat. Too careful. "It's not from him," she said. "No, but it might be about him." Her hands started shaking. She set the letter on the table like it might bite her. "I can't." "You have to." What if it says he's dead?" "Then at least you'll know." "I don't want to know. Not yet." "Not?" "Mama." Maggie appeared in the doorway. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, baby. Go play with Lily." But you're crying. Abigail touched her face, surprised to find tears. I'm fine. Please, just go. Maggie looked at the letter, at her mother's face, at Nate standing quiet and solid by the door. Then she turned and left without another word. Smart girl. Too smart. Abigail stared at the envelope. Her name in careful script, Montana postmark, 3 weeks old. You want me to read it? Nate asked gently. No, I need to. She picked it up, turned it over. The seal was already broken. Postmaster probably checked it. Her fingers found the edge of the paper, pulled it out. The words swam. She blinked, focused, read. Mrs. Morgan. My name is Samuel Chen. I worked alongside your husband James at the Silver Bell mine near Helena. I am writing to inform you that James was killed in a tunnel collapse on January 8th. It was quick. He did not suffer. Before he died, he spoke often of you and your daughters. He wanted me to tell you he was sorry. He was trying to earn enough to send for you. He saved $47. I am arranging to have it sent through the bank in Independence. He was a good man. I am sorry for your loss. The letter fell from her hands. James was dead. Had been dead for weeks. While she was walking. While she was starving. While she was stealing rotten apples behind Nate's barn, James was already dead. She'd been chasing a ghost. Abigail. Nate's voice seemed to come from very far away. Her legs gave out. She sat down hard on the floor. Not crying. Not making any sound at all. Just sitting there with the knowledge crushing down on her like a physical weight. Dead. James was dead. And she'd dragged her daughters 300 miles through hell for nothing. Abigail breathed. Was she breathing? She couldn't tell. Everything felt distant, unreal. Nate knelt beside her, took her hands. Look at me. Look at me. She looked. His face was steady, solid, real. Breathe with me. In, out, in, out. She breathed. In, out. Her lungs remembered how. Good. Keep breathing. That's all you have to do right now. Just breathe. He's dead. The words came out flat, empty. I know. He's been dead for weeks. I know. I walked all this way for nothing. No. Nate's voice was firm. Not for nothing. For your girls. To survive. That's not nothing. But he's dead. He is. And I'm sorry. But you're not. Your girls aren't. You're alive. You survived. That counts. Did surviving count when the thing you were surviving for didn't exist? What do I do now? She whispered. Right now, nothing. You sit here. You let it sink in. Then you get up and you keep going. I don't know how. Same way you've been doing it. One step at a time. The door opened. Maggie stood there, face pale, eyes too knowing. Papa's dead, isn't he? Not a question, a statement. Abigail wanted to lie, wanted to protect her, but Maggie had been through too much, deserved the truth. Yes, baby, he is. Maggie nodded slowly, like she'd already known, like she'd been preparing for it for months. Was it the mines? Yes. Did he suffer? The letter says no, says it was quick. Good. Maggie's voice was small but steady. I didn't want him to suffer. Lily appeared behind her sister. What's happening? Why is everyone sad? Maggie turned, knelt down, took Lily's hands. Papa's not coming back, Lily. He died, in the mines, like Mama thought might happen. Lily's face crumpled. But he promised. He promised he'd come get us. I know, but sometimes people can't keep their promises, even when they want to. It's not fair. No, it's not. Lily started crying. Maggie held her. Two little girls holding each other while their world fell apart. And Abigail sat on the floor, watching her daughters grieve, unable to comfort them because she was drowning in her own grief. Nate stood, walked to the girls, knelt down beside them. "Come here," he said quietly. They turned to him. These two children who barely knew him, and without hesitation they went. Let him wrap his arms around them both. Let him hold them while they cried. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm so sorry. Your papa loved you. The letter says so. He was trying to take care of you. He just ran out of time." "We'll never see him again," Lily sobbed. "No, but you'll remember him, and that's important. Remembering keeps people alive in a different way." "I don't want to remember. I want him here." "I know, sweetheart. I know." Abigail watched them. This man she'd known for 9 days. Holding her daughters. Giving them comfort she couldn't give. Being strong because she couldn't be. Something in her chest cracked. Not broke, it had been breaking for months, but cracked open. Let something new in. Gratitude. Relief. Something she was afraid to name. The day passed in a blur. Nate made dinner. Got the girls to eat even though none of them were hungry. Put them to bed early. Stayed with them until they fell asleep. Abigail sat by the fire, holding the letter, reading it over and over. Like maybe the words would change. Like maybe she'd misread it. But they didn't change. James was dead. Her husband of 17 years, the father of her children, the man who'd promised to save them, dead in a hole in Montana while she walked herself into the ground trying to find him. "You should eat something," Nate said. She looked up, hadn't heard him come back. "I'm not hungry. You need to eat anyway." "I can't." He sat down across from her, handed her a cup of coffee. She took it automatically, held it without drinking. "Talk to me," he said. "About what? Whatever you're thinking." "I'm thinking I wasted 6 months chasing a dead man. I'm thinking I nearly killed my daughters for nothing. I'm thinking—" Her voice broke. "I'm thinking James died alone in the dark and I didn't even know, didn't even feel it. What kind of wife doesn't feel it when her husband dies? The kind who's too busy keeping her children alive to feel anything else. That's not good enough. It's all you had." She set down the coffee, put her face in her hands. "What do I do now, Nate? Where do we go?" "I don't know, but you don't have to figure it out tonight." "When then? When do I have to have answers?" "When you're ready, not before." "What if I'm never ready?" "Then you fake it until you are. That's what I did." She looked at him through her fingers. "After Sarah." "After Sarah. For months I just went through motions, fed the animals, worked the land, told myself I was living. But I wasn't. I was just waiting to die." He paused. "Then that family came through, and they reminded me that waiting to die is just another way of giving up. So I stopped waiting, started trying. Still don't know if I'm living or just doing a better job of pretending. But at least I'm trying." "How long did it take before it got easier?" "It didn't get easier. I just got better at carrying it." Abigail felt tears sliding down her face. "I loved him. Even after he left. Even when I was angry. I still loved him." "I know. But I'm also, God help me. I'm also relieved. Because now I know. Now I can stop wondering. Stop hoping. Stop pretending everything will be fine if I just keep walking." She looked at him. "Does that make me a terrible person?" "No. It makes you human." They sat in silence. The fire crackling. Outside wind picked up. Not a storm. Just winter being winter. "The letter said he saved money," Abigail said finally. $47. "That's good. That'll help. Help with what I still don't have a plan. Don't have anywhere to go. You have time to figure it out. How much time? Nate met her eyes. As much as you need. You and the girls can stay here. We can't do that. Why not? Because we can't live off your charity forever. It's not charity if you work for it. And God knows I need help around here. For how long? A week, a month. Then what? I don't know. But does it matter? Right now you need a place to be. I've got one. Seems simple to me. Nothing's that simple. It is if you let it be. Abigail wanted to argue, wanted to find all the reasons this couldn't work, but she was so tired, so completely spent, and the alternative was walking back out into the cold with nowhere to go and no reason to keep going. I need to think about it, she said. Fair enough. Think as long as you want. The offer stands. She nodded, picked up her coffee. It had gone cold. Nate stood. I'm going to check the animals. You should get some sleep. I won't sleep. Try anyway. He pulled on his coat, headed for the door, stopped, turned back. Abigail, I know it doesn't feel like it right now, but you're going to be okay. All three of you. You're survivors. That's worth something. Is it? It's everything. Then he was gone, out into the cold, leaving her alone with the fire and the letter and the ruins of everything she'd been holding on to. She sat there for a long time, thinking about James, about the man he'd been, the man he'd become, the promises he'd made and broken. She thought about Pennsylvania, the farm, the life they'd built, how it had all fallen apart so fast. She thought about the last 6 months, walking, starving, stealing, surviving. She thought about her daughters, how they'd changed, how Maggie had stopped being a child, how Lily had learned to be afraid, and she thought about Nate, this stranger who'd taken them in, who'd fed them and sheltered them and asked for nothing in return, who'd offered to take them to Montana knowing it might kill him, who was offering them a place to stay now, even though they had nothing to give. Why? Why would someone do that? The door opened. Nate came back in, stamping snow off his boots. Everything all right? He asked. No, but it will be. She stood. I'm going to bed. Thank you, for today, for all of it. You're welcome. She started toward the bed, stopped, turned back. Nate, why are you doing this? Really? He was quiet for a moment. Because when Sarah died, I wanted to die too. And if that family hadn't stopped, hadn't cared, hadn't reminded me that life was worth living, I would have. So maybe I'm doing this for them. Or maybe I'm doing it for Sarah. Or maybe... He stopped, met her eyes. Maybe I'm doing it because seeing you fight this hard to survive reminded me why surviving matters. Abigail felt her throat close. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just get some sleep. Tomorrow we'll figure out the rest. She nodded, went to bed, climbed in beside her daughters. They were both asleep, faces peaceful despite everything. She kissed them each on the forehead, whispered, I'm sorry for all of it, but we're going to be okay. I promise. And lying there in the darkness, in a stranger's bed, in a stranger's house, with her husband dead and her future uncertain, Abigail felt something she hadn't felt in 6 months. Hope. Not the desperate hope that James would save them, not the naive hope that everything would work out, but the quiet, steady hope that maybe they could save themselves, that maybe surviving was enough, that maybe, just maybe, they'd be okay after all. The next morning, Abigail woke before dawn, found Nate already up, already making coffee. Couldn't sleep, he asked. Not much. Kept thinking. About everything. She accepted the coffee he handed her. James, the girls, what comes next? Come to any conclusions? A few. She took a breath. If the offer still stands, to stay here. Work for room and board. I'd like to accept, just until spring, until the girls are stronger, until I can figure out what to do. The offer stands. But I need to pay rent, something. I can't just... Abigail, he cut her off gently. You're going to work. Hard. That's payment enough. I don't need your money. But, no buts. You work. I provide shelter. That's the deal. Take it or leave it. She wanted to argue, but she was so tired of fighting, so tired of being proud when pride accomplished nothing. I'll take it. Thank you. Good. Then it settled. They stood at the window, watching the sun rise, the snow glowing pink and gold. What about Montana? Abigail asked. The money James saved. Should I go get it? Can't get there until spring anyway. Roads are closed. By then you'll know better what you want to do. What if I want to go to see where he died? To I don't know. Say goodbye properly. Then I'll take you, same as before, when the weather clears, if that's what you want. You'd still do that. Even though he's dead, even though there's no reason, there's reason. You need closure. That's reason enough. Abigail felt tears threatening again. Why are you so kind to us? Because somebody was kind to me once, and because... He stopped, seemed to wrestle with something, then said, because you and those girls are the first thing in 3 years that's made this place feel like a home instead of a tomb. The honesty of it hit her like a fist. Nate, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling you. Having you here, hearing the girls laugh, eating meals with people instead of alone. It helps. So maybe we're helping each other. Maybe we are. They stood in silence, the sun climbing higher, the day beginning. Behind them, the girls started to wake. Abigail heard Lily's soft voice, Maggie's gentle response, the sound of life, of family, of people who cared about each other. And for the first time since James left, since the bank took the farm, since everything fell apart, Abigail felt like maybe she was home. Not the home she'd lost, not the home she'd been chasing, but home nonetheless. The days that followed were strange, quiet, almost peaceful. Abigail worked, cooked and cleaned and mended, learned the rhythms of Nate's ranch, where things went, how things worked. She was good at it, found satisfaction in honest labor, in earning her keep. The girls helped, Maggie especially. Learning to care for chickens, to help with cooking, to do small tasks that made her feel useful. Lily played, more and more each day, the fear leaving her eyes, the hunger leaving her face. She was gaining weight, starting to look like a child instead of a ghost, and slowly, carefully, they started to grieve. Abigail would find Maggie crying sometimes. Quiet tears she tried to hide. She'd hold her, let her cry, tell her it was okay to be sad. Lily asked questions. Where is Papa now? Is he in heaven? Can he see us? Does he know we're okay? Abigail answered as best she could. I think so, baby. I think he can see us. And I think he's glad we're safe. Do you miss him? Every day. Me too. But not as much as I thought I would. Is that bad? No, sweetheart. That's not bad. That's just honest. They had a small ceremony. Just the four of them. No grave, no body. But Abigail read from the Bible, and they each said something they remembered about James. Maggie said, "He used to read to me, before bed. I liked that." Lily said, "He had a funny laugh. It made me laugh too." Abigail said, "He tried. He didn't always succeed, but he tried. That counts for something." Nate didn't say anything, just stood with them, present, solid, supporting them in their grief without intruding on it. After Abigail felt lighter, like she'd set down a weight she'd been carrying. James was dead. She'd grieved him, and now she could let him rest. One evening, about 2 weeks after the letter came, Abigail and Nate sat by the fire after the girls had gone to sleep. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure. Do you ever think about marrying again?" The question hung in the air. Bold, maybe too bold. Nate was quiet for a long time. Sometimes, not often. She was everything. Hard to imagine finding that again. But you'd want to if you found it. Maybe. If it was right. If she understood. If she didn't expect me to forget Sarah. He looked at her. "Why do you ask?" Abigail felt heat rise to her face. "No reason, just curious." "Abigail, I should go to bed. It's late." She stood, started toward the bed. His hand caught her wrist. Gentle, not restraining, just stopping her. "Wait." She turned, found him standing very close. "I know what you're thinking," he said quietly. "And I need you to know I'm not expecting anything. You staying here. Me, helping you. None of that comes with strings. I know that." "Do you?" "Because I need you to. I need you to know that you're safe here, that you don't owe me anything, that—" "Nate." She put her hand over his. "I know. I trust you. Completely." He searched her face, looking for the lie, found only truth. "Good, that's good." They stood there, hands touching, something electric and terrifying in the space between them. Then Abigail stepped back. "Good night, Nate." "Good night, Abigail." She went to bed, climbed in beside her daughters, and lay there for a long time, thinking about trust, about safety, about the way her heart had jumped when Nate touched her wrist. It was too soon. James had been dead less than a month. She had no business feeling anything for anyone. But lying there in the darkness, she couldn't deny it. Something was growing between them. Something fragile and new, and absolutely terrifying. And she had no idea what to do about it. The answer came a week later, in the form of riders. Abigail was collecting eggs when she heard horses, 3 of them, coming fast. She dropped the basket, ran to the house. "Nate!" He was outside immediately, rifle in hand. "Get inside, bar the door." "What's happening?" "Don't know, but get inside, now." She grabbed the girls, got them inside, dropped the bar across the door, watched through the window. 3 men, rough-looking, armed. They pulled up in front of the house. The leader, big man with a scar across his face, called out, "You Nathaniel Cartwright?" "I am. What do you want?" "Heard you got a woman here. Widow woman with 2 kids." Abigail's blood went cold. "What's it to you?" Nate's voice was steady, but his rifle didn't waver. "We're looking for someone. Woman named Abigail Morgan. Her husband owed money, lots of money, and now he's dead. That debt falls to her." "Don't know anyone by that name." "Really?" "Because we got word she's been staying here, that you took her in after she was caught stealing." Nate's jaw tightened. "Even if I did know her, what makes you think she owes you anything?" "James Morgan borrowed $500 from our boss. Promised to pay it back with interest from his mining earnings. Then he went and died. Debt doesn't die with him. His widow doesn't owe you shit. Law says different. Law says a lot of things. Doesn't make them right." The scarred man smiled. Ugly. Dangerous. "We don't care about right. We care about money. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to bring out Mrs. Morgan, and she's going to come with us. Work off the debt, one way or another." "Like hell she is." "You really want to die for some woman you barely know?" "Try me and find out." The tension stretched. Abigail's heart hammered. This was her fault, her debt, her problem. She couldn't let Nate die for it. She moved to the door, lifted the bar. "Mama, no." Maggie grabbed her arm. "I have to baby." "They'll hurt you." "They'll hurt Nate if I don't. I can't let that happen." She pulled free, opened the door, stepped out. All 4 men turned to look at her. "I'm Abigail Morgan," she said. voice shaking but clear. "And I don't owe you a damn thing. My husband's debts died with him. That's the law." The scarred man laughed. "That's so. Well, our law's different, and you're coming with us either way." "No, she's not." Nate stepped forward, put himself between Abigail and the riders. "You want her, you go through me first." "Happy to." The scarred man's hand moved toward his pistol, and everything exploded into violence. Nate's rifle came up fast, aimed dead center at the scarred man's chest. "Move that hand one more inch, and I'll put a hole through you big enough to see daylight." The scarred man froze, hand hovering over his pistol, eyes calculating odds. "You really want to die over this?" he asked. "You really want to find out if I'm bluffing? There's 3 of us. 1 of you. I've got 8 shots in this, Henry. I'll take all 3 of you before you clear leather. Question is which one of you wants to die first?" The silence stretched. Abigail's heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst. Behind her, through the open door, she heard Maggie crying, heard Lily's frightened whimper. "Last chance," Nate said quietly. "Ride away, live to see tomorrow, or stay and test me." The scarred man stared, weighing, thinking. Then he smiled. "We'll be back, with more men, and next time you won't be so lucky. I'll be ready. So will we." The 3 riders wheeled their horses, rode off. Not fast, not slow, just riding, making it clear this wasn't over. Nate kept the rifle raised until they disappeared over the rise. Then he lowered it, turned to Abigail. "Inside. Now." She didn't argue, just moved. Back through the door. Nate followed, dropped the bar across it. Maggie threw herself at Abigail. "I thought they were going to kill you." "I'm okay, baby. I'm okay." "They said Papa owed money. Is that true?" Abigail looked at Nate. He nodded. Permission to be honest. "I don't know. Maybe. Your father borrowed money before he left. I didn't know about all of it." "How much?" "They said $500. Maggie's eyes went wide. That's so much money." "I know." "Do we have it?" "No, baby, we don't." "Then what are we going to do?" That was the question, wasn't it? Nate set the rifle by the door. "First thing, we're going to breathe. Second thing, we're going to think. Third thing, we're going to figure this out." "There's nothing to figure out." Abigail's voice was flat. "James owed money. He's dead. They think I owe it. They'll keep coming until they get it, or I'm dead too." "They're not getting you." "Nate, you can't fight them. Not forever. They'll come back with more men. I don't care how many men they bring. You're under my protection. They want you, they go through me." "I can't let you do that. It's not your choice." "The hell it's not." Her voice rose, anger and fear mixing. "This is my debt, my problem. I won't let you die for it. And I won't let them take you. So we're at an impasse." "Nate." "No." He stepped closer, voice dropping, intense. "Listen to me. James might have owed that money. Might not. Doesn't matter. The law doesn't make widows pay their husbands' debts. These men are trying to scare you, bully you, make you think you have no choice, but you do. And I'm telling you right now, you're not going with them. Ever. You understand?" Abigail felt tears threatening. "You barely know me. Why would you risk your life?" "Because it's the right thing to do." "That's not good enough." "It's all I've got." They stared at each other, the air between them crackling with tension and fear and something else, something neither of them wanted to name. Lily's small voice broke the moment. "Are the bad men coming back?" Nate turned to her, knelt down. "Maybe. But if they do, I'll be ready. I promise. Nobody's going to hurt you or your mama or Maggie. Okay?" "You promise?" "I promise." Promises break. Maggie's voice was bitter, older than her years. Papa promised he'd come back. He broke that promise. Nate met her eyes. Your papa didn't break his promise on purpose. He died trying to keep it. There's a difference. I'm not going to die, and I'm not going to let anything happen to your family. That's my promise, and I keep my promises. How do we know? Because I'm still here. Because I could have turned you away that first night. Could have sent you back into the snow. But I didn't, and I won't now. You're stuck with me. Maggie studied his face, looking for the lie. Found none. Okay, she said finally. I believe you. Good girl. The rest of the day passed in tense silence. Nate checked and rechecked the rifle, made sure all the ammunition was ready, barred the door, and shuttered the windows. Abigail tried to work, tried to cook dinner, but her hands shook so badly she could barely hold the knife. Let me. Nate took it from her, started cutting vegetables. You should rest. I can't rest. I can't sit still. I need to do something. Then sit with the girls. They need you calm. If you're scared, they're terrified. He was right. She knew he was right. She went to the bed where Maggie and Lily sat, climbed up with them, let them curl against her. Tell us a story, Lily whispered. Like you used to, before. What kind of story? A happy one, with a good ending. Abigail's mind went blank. She couldn't remember any happy stories. Couldn't remember what good endings looked like. But she tried. Told them about a princess and a dragon and a brave knight. Made up details as she went. Gave it the happy ending Lily wanted. By the time she finished, both girls were asleep, exhausted from fear. Abigail slipped out of bed carefully, went to where Nate stood by the window, watching the horizon. See anything? She asked. Not yet, but they'll come, tonight or tomorrow. They're not done. What do? We prepare, and we don't let them take you. Nate, this is crazy. You can't fight off a gang of men, not alone. I'm not alone. I've got neighbors, good men. I can send word, get help. That'll take days. Then we hold out for days. And if we can't, he turned to look at her. Then we fight anyway, because the alternative is letting them take you, and I won't do that. Why? The question burst out. Why do you care so much? What am I to you? Nate was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, You want the truth. Yes. I don't know. I don't have a name for what you are to me. I just know that when I saw you in the snow eating rotten apples, something in me woke up. Something that had been dead since Sarah. And every day you're here. Every conversation we have, every time I see you with your girls, that something gets stronger. So maybe I'm being selfish. Maybe I'm protecting you because losing you would kill that thing. Would send me back to being half alive. Or maybe... He stopped. Maybe I'm protecting you because I can't imagine this place without you in it anymore. Abigail's breath caught. Nate, you don't have to say anything. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling you why I'm willing to fight. Why I'm willing to die if it comes to that. I don't want you to die. Then help me keep us all alive. How? By trusting me, by letting me protect you, by not doing anything stupid like trying to give yourself up to save me. She wanted to promise, wanted to say she'd stay. But the truth was, if it came down to Nate's life or hers, she'd choose his. Every time. Because her girls needed him. More than they needed her. And maybe, God help her, she was starting to need him too. They stood at the window together, watching the darkness gather, waiting for whatever came next. Abigail, Nate said quietly, when this is over, when we've dealt with these men, we need to talk about what comes next. About us. There is no us. Isn't there? She didn't answer. Because the truth was, she didn't know anymore. 6 weeks ago, she'd been married to James. 6 weeks ago, she'd been walking to Montana to find him. 6 weeks ago, the idea of feeling anything for another man would have been unthinkable. But James was dead. Had been dead when she was still walking, still hoping. And Nate was here, alive, real, willing to die to keep her safe. "I don't know what I feel," she admitted. "Everything's too confused, too complicated." "I know, but eventually we'll have to figure it out." "Not tonight." "No, not tonight. Tonight we survive. Tomorrow we figure out the rest." The riders came back at dawn. Not 3 this time. 8, maybe more. Surrounding the house, the scarred man in front. "Cartwright!" he shouted. "We're done playing. Send out the woman or we burn you out." Nate stood at the window, rifle ready. "You try burning us out, I'll shoot every one of you before the first flame catches." "You can't get all of us." "No, but I'll get you. That I promise." The scarred man laughed. "You really want to die for some whore who's not even yours?" Abigail flinched at the word. Nate's jaw went tight. "Call her that again, and I'll put a bullet through your teeth." Tough talk for a man who's outnumbered. "Not as outnumbered as you think." A new voice called out. "That's far enough." Abigail's head snapped around. Through the other window, she saw riders. 5 of them, approaching from the north, led by a gray-haired man on a big roan horse. "Samuel," Nate breathed. The riders pulled up, positioned themselves between the scarred man's gang and the house. "Morning, Nate," the gray-haired man called. "Heard you might need help." "How'd you know?" "Your chickens were making a fuss last night. My boy came over to check. Saw these gentlemen scouting your place. Figured it wasn't a social call." The scarred man wheeled his horse. "This isn't your fight, old man." "It is now. Nate's my neighbor. That makes it my fight. There's more of us than you. Maybe. But we're better shots. And we're on the right side. That counts for something." Samuel raised his rifle. "Now you've got 2 choices. Ride away, or we see who's left standing when the smoke clears." The scarred man looked around, counted odds. His men were shifting, nervous. This wasn't what they'd signed up for. "This isn't over," he said finally. "Yes, it is." Samuel's voice was hard. "You come back here again, we'll be waiting. Every rancher within 10 miles knows what you tried to do. They'll shoot you on sight. So unless you want to die on this God-forsaken prairie, you'll ride out and not come back." The scarred man spat. "The debt." "There is no debt. James Morgan's debts died with him. Law's clear on that. You're trying to extort a widow. That makes you lower than dirt. Now get off our land before we bury you in it." For a moment, Abigail thought the scarred man would fight, would call Samuel's bluff. Then he yanked his horse's head around. "Let's go." His men followed, riding east, fast this time, not looking back. Samuel and his men stayed until they were out of sight. Then he dismounted, walked to the house. Nate opened the door. "Samuel, I don't know how to thank you." "Don't thank me yet. They might come back." "You think they will?" "No, they're bullies. Bullies run when you stand up to them. But we'll keep watch for a few days just in case." He looked past Nate, saw Abigail standing with the girls. "You must be Mrs. Morgan." "I am, thank you, for what you did. We owe you everything." "You don't owe me anything. Nate's a good man, good neighbor. Someone threatens him, they threaten all of us." He paused. "My wife Ruth would like you to come to dinner. Tonight if you're able. Bring the girls. Let them meet our children. Might do everyone good to feel normal for a few hours." Abigail looked at Nate. He nodded. "We'd love to," she said. "Thank you." "Good. We'll see you at sunset." Samuel mounted his horse, tipped his hat. Nate, you need anything, you send word. I will. Thank you, Samuel. That's what neighbors are for. The riders left, heading back to their own ranches, leaving Nate and Abigail standing in the doorway, watching them go. It's over, Abigail whispered. It's really over. It is. She felt her legs go weak, sat down hard on the step. I thought they were going to kill you. Kill all of us. They didn't. We're okay. Because of you. Because you stood up to them. Because you... Her voice broke. Why, Nate? Why did you do that? He sat down beside her. I told you why. Tell me again. I need to hear it again. Because you matter. Because your girls matter. Because I couldn't live with myself if I let anything happen to you. He paused. And because somewhere along the way, you stopped being strangers, I took in and started being, what? Family. You started being family. Abigail felt tears sliding down her face. We're not your family. Aren't you? You live in my house, eat at my table, work my land. Your girls call me by my name like I'm someone who matters. That sounds like family to me. But James is dead, and I'm sorry for that. Sorry for what you lost. But he's gone, and you're here, and He stopped, started again. I care about you, Abigail, more than I should, more than I meant to, and I don't know what to do about it except tell you the truth. She looked at him. This man who'd saved her, sheltered her, protected her, who'd been willing to die for her and her daughters without asking for anything in return. I care about you too, she whispered, and it terrifies me. Why? Because it's too soon. Because James has only been dead a month. Because I don't know if what I feel is real or just gratitude, desperation, relief at being safe. Does it matter? Yes, it matters. I won't use you. Won't let you be a replacement for what I lost. You deserve better than that. What if I don't care? What if I'm willing to take whatever you can give? Then you're a fool. Probably. They sat in silence, the morning sun climbing higher, the fear finally ebbing. Inside, the girls were waking, calling for Abigail. She stood. I know. He stood too. Abigail, we don't have to figure this out today, or tomorrow. We've got time. Do we? As much as we need. I'm not going anywhere, and neither are you, so we've got time. She nodded, went inside, left him standing there. And for the first time since James died, Abigail let herself imagine a future that wasn't defined by loss. A future where she wasn't alone, where her daughters had a home, where she had... What love? Was that? What this was? She didn't know, couldn't name it yet. But as she hugged her daughters and told them they were safe, told them the bad men were gone, told them everything would be okay, she felt it. That fragile, terrifying thing growing in her chest. Hope. Not hope that James would save them. He was gone. Not hope that Montana held answers. It didn't. But hope that maybe, just maybe, home wasn't a place you went back to. Maybe home was a place you built. With your own hands. With people you chose. With a man who stood between you and danger without hesitation. Maybe home was here, right here, if she was brave enough to claim it. That evening they went to Samuel and Ruth's ranch. The girls were nervous at first, shy, but Ruth was warm and kind, and her 3 children were close to Maggie and Lily's ages. Within minutes they were playing, actually playing, like normal children. Abigail sat with Ruth in the kitchen, helping prepare dinner, grateful for the company of another woman. Nate's a good man, Ruth said, not subtle, direct. He is. He's been alone too long, since Sarah died. We've all worried about him. He loved her very much. He did, still does. But that doesn't mean he can't love again. Ruth looked at her. You're good for him. I saw it the moment we arrived. The way he looks at you. The way he stood up to those men. That's the Nate we used to know. Before. You brought him back. I didn't do anything. You gave him a reason to care. That's everything." Abigail didn't know what to say to that. Dinner was loud and chaotic and wonderful. 7 people around a table, talking and laughing and being alive. Maggie told stories. Lily made Ruth's children laugh. And Abigail sat there feeling like maybe, just maybe, this was what healing looked like. After the men sat outside smoking, the women cleaned up, the children played in the barn. "Mrs. Morgan," Samuel said when she came out for air, "can I ask you something?" "Of course." "What are your plans, long term?" "I don't know. I thought I was going to Montana, to find James. But now? Now he's gone and you need a new plan." "Yes." "Have you thought about staying here in Wyoming?" "I don't know. I don't have anywhere to stay. Can't live off Nate's charity forever." "It's not charity if you're working. And from what Nate tells me, you work hard." "I try." "Ruth and I were talking. We could use help. Extra hands around the ranch. If you're interested, we could offer you room and board. Small wage. Give you some independence. Let you save money." Abigail's heart jumped. That's very kind. But I couldn't leave Nate. Not after everything he's done." "Who said anything about leaving Nate?" Samuel smiled. "Our ranches are 3 miles apart. You could work for us during the day. Stay with Nate at night if that's where you're comfortable. Or work out some other arrangement. Point is, you'd have options. Wouldn't be dependent on anyone." Options. Independence. The ability to stand on her own feet. It was everything she wanted. "I'd need to think about it," she said. "Of course. Take your time. Offer stands whenever you're ready." They rode home under a sky full of stars. The girls asleep in the wagon bed. Nate driving. Abigail beside him. "Samuel made me an offer," she said. "I know. He told me he would." "You're not upset." "Why would I be upset? It's a good offer. Would give you independence. But I'd have to leave, not permanently, but you'd still be close, 3 miles. We'd still see each other. Is that what you want?" He was quiet for a long time. "What I want is for you to have choices, to not feel trapped, to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and choose what you want, not what you need, not what survival demands, but what you actually want. And if what I want is—" She stopped, afraid to finish. "Is what is you." The wagon stopped. Nate set the brake, turned to look at her. "Is that what you want? Or what you think you should want, because I helped you?" "I don't know. But I know when those men came, when I thought they might kill you, I couldn't breathe. I know that sitting at dinner tonight with Samuel and Ruth, all I could think about was coming home to you. I know that—" She took a breath. "I know that James has been dead a month, and I should be grieving, should be focused on my daughters, should be anything except this. But I can't help it. When I'm with you, I feel safe, feel seen, feel like maybe I could be happy again someday." "Abigail, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling you, because you were honest with me, and you deserve honesty back." Nate reached out, took her hand. "I'm not James. I can't be him. Won't try to be. I don't want you to be James. I want you to be you. I loved Sarah. I'll always love her. I know. And I'll always love the man James was, before everything broke him. But loving someone who's gone doesn't mean we can't love someone who's here. No, it doesn't." They sat there, hands clasped, the night silent around them. "So what do we do?" Abigail asked. "We take it slow. We figure it out as we go. We don't rush. We don't make promises we're not ready to keep. We be honest. With each other. With ourselves." "I can do that." "Good. So can I." He squeezed her hand, released it, picked up the reins. And they drove home together. Not knowing what came next, not having all the answers, But for the first time in months, maybe years, both of them felt like maybe they were heading in the right direction. Maybe home wasn't behind them. Maybe it was ahead, waiting to be built. One honest conversation at a time. Spring came to Wyoming like a whispered promise. The snow melted. The roads cleared. The world turned green and gold and possible again. Abigail had been at Nate's ranch for 3 months. 3 months of working alongside him, of cooking meals and mending clothes, and learning the rhythms of a life she'd never imagined for herself. 3 months of watching her daughters transform from frightened ghosts into children who laughed and played and believed in tomorrow. 3 months of falling in love with a man she'd never meant to love. She woke early one April morning to find Nate already outside, working in the garden he'd started, turning soil, planting seeds. She brought him coffee, stood beside him watching the sun rise. "Beautiful morning?" he said. "It is. Roads are clear now, all the way to Montana if you wanted." Her heart skipped. "Are you asking me to leave?" "I'm asking if you still want to go, to see where James died, to collect that money, to get closure." Did she? 3 months ago, the answer would have been yes without hesitation. But now, I don't know, she admitted. Part of me thinks I should see where he's buried, should say goodbye properly. But another part thinks I already said goodbye, that going to Montana would just be opening wounds that are finally starting to heal. What does your heart say? My heart says I want to stay here, with you. Build something instead of chasing ghosts. Nate set down his shovel, turned to face her. Then stay. Just like that. Just like that. But the money. James saved that money for us, for the girls. I should get it. They deserve a mother who's happy, who's building a future instead of mourning a past. The money will still be there in 6 months, a year, whenever you're ready. But right now, he took her hands. Right now, I'm asking you to choose. Montana or here, the past or the future, James or you. She finished for him. You're asking me to choose you. I am. And I know it's too soon. I know you're still grieving. I know all the reasons you should say no. But I'm asking anyway because I can't. I can't keep pretending this is just about giving you shelter. It stopped being that weeks ago. When Maggie laughed for the first time, when Lily called this place home, when I woke up one morning and realized I was happier than I'd been in 3 years, when I looked at you and saw not just a woman I was helping, but a woman He stopped. A woman I love. The words hung in the air. Simple. Terrifying. True. Nate, you don't have to say it back. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to stay. To give us a real chance. Not just surviving together, but living together, building together. Abigail felt tears sliding down her face. I love you too. God help me, I do. And I feel guilty for it every single day. James has only been dead 4 months, and I'm already what? Already choosing to live instead of die. Already choosing happiness over grief. That's not wrong, Abigail. That's human. But people will talk. Will say I didn't love James. That I moved on too fast. Let them talk. We know the truth. That's all that matters. What is the truth? The truth is you loved James. Did everything you could to find him. And when you learned he was gone, you grieved him. Properly. Honestly. The truth is you didn't choose me because it was easy or convenient. You chose me because after everything you've been through, you still have the courage to try again. That's not betrayal. That's bravery. She wanted to believe him, wanted to believe that loving again wasn't wrong. What about the girls? She asked. They just lost their father. How do I tell them I'm that we ask them, we're honest. We let them decide too. So they did. That evening after dinner, Nate and Abigail sat down with Maggie and Lily. Told them the truth. that Nate had asked Abigail to stay permanently, that he wanted them to be a family, real family, not just people sharing a house, but people choosing each other. Lily's eyes went wide. "Does that mean you'd be our papa?" Nate knelt down, eye level with her. "Not your papa. Your papa was James and nobody will ever replace him. But I could be something else. Someone who cares about you, who'll protect you, who'll be there when you need me. Like a second papa. Something like that." "I'd like that." She turned to Abigail. "Can we, Mama? Can we stay? Is that what you want?" "Yes, I love it here. I love the chickens and Bessie and my room and everything. Please, can we stay?" Abigail looked at Maggie, her quiet, serious 8-year-old who saw too much. "What do you think, baby?" Maggie was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Do you love him? Mama? Really love him? Not just because he helped us?" "Yes, I really love him." "And you, Mr. Cartwright, do you love Mama?" "I do." "What about Papa? Are you trying to replace him?" "No. Your Papa will always be your Papa. I'm not trying to take his place. I'm trying to make a new place. For all of us. Together." Maggie thought about that. "Papa used to read to me, before bed. Would you do that? If you want me to. And Papa used to help me with my letters. Would you help too?" "Absolutely." "And when I'm sad about Papa, can I still be sad? Or do I have to pretend I'm not because you're here now?" Nate's voice was gentle. "You can be sad whenever you need to be. Missing your Papa doesn't hurt my feelings. He was important to you. He'll always be important. And that's okay." Maggie nodded slowly. "Then I think we should stay. I think Papa would want us to be happy. And I'm happy here." "You're sure?" Abigail asked. "I'm sure." And just like that it was decided. They would stay. They would build a life here. They would be a family. The wedding was simple. Just them and Samuel and Ruth and the children. No fancy dress. No big ceremony. Just vows spoken under the same tree where they'd first talked about the future. Abigail wore a dress Ruth helped her make. Simple blue cotton. Nothing special. But when Nate saw her, his eyes filled with tears. "You're beautiful," he said. "I'm practical." Same thing. Samuel performed the ceremony. Short and honest. No flowery language. Just the truth. "Do you, Nathaniel Cartwright, take Abigail Morgan to be your wife, to love and protect, and stand beside through whatever comes?" "I do." "And do you, Abigail Morgan, take Nathaniel Cartwright to be your husband? To love and support and build a life with?" Abigail looked at Nate. This man who'd saved her, who'd shown her what real kindness looked like, who'd given her and her daughters a home when they had nothing. "I do." "Then by the power vested in me by the territory of Wyoming, I pronounce you husband and wife." Nate kissed her. Gentle, careful, like she was something precious. And Abigail kissed him back. Choosing him, choosing life, choosing happiness, despite everything that had tried to kill it. Maggie and Lily cheered. Ruth cried. Samuel smiled. And under the Wyoming sky, a new family was born. Not from blood, not from obligation, but from choice, from survival that turned into living, from strangers who became home. The months that followed were hard. Not because they didn't love each other, but because building a life was always hard. There were arguments about money, about the ranch, about how to raise the girls, about whether Abigail should take Samuel's offer and work for independence or stay home full-time. There were moments when Abigail missed James, grieved the life they'd lost, wondered if she'd made the right choice. There were nights when Nate woke up calling Sarah's name, when the past was more real than the present. But they worked through it, together. They learned each other's rhythms, each other's wounds, each other's hopes. They learned that love wasn't just the easy moments, It was also the hard conversations, the honest fights, the choosing each other even when it would be easier to walk away. Maggie thrived, started school in town, made friends, still asked about James sometimes, still cried for him, but she also laughed, played, let herself be a child again. Lily bloomed, gained weight, grew taller. Her nightmares about the cold and the hunger faded. She called Nate Papa Nate without hesitation, curled up in his lap at night while he read to her, and slowly, carefully, they became a family. Not perfect, but real. 1 year after that first night in the snow, Abigail stood in the garden, planting seeds, building something that would grow. Nate came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "Happy?" he asked. "Yes. Are you?" "More than I ever thought I'd be again." She turned in his arms. "I still think about James sometimes. About what might have been if he'd lived." "I know. I still think about Sarah, too." "Does that bother you? That we're not each other's first choice?" "No. Because we're each other's conscious choice. We chose this. Chose each other. That makes it real in a way first love never is." "When did you get so wise?" "When I met a woman stubborn enough to eat rotten apples rather than give up." She laughed. Actually laughed. "That feels like a lifetime ago." "It was a lifetime ago. We're different people now. Better people. Happier people. That's what matters." From the house, Lily called out, "Mama, Papa Nate, come see Maggie and I made bread." They walked back together, hand in hand, toward the small cabin that had become home, toward the girls who'd survived everything and come out stronger, toward the life they'd built from nothing but hope and stubbornness and the willingness to try again. 2 years later, Abigail stood in the same garden, but this time she wasn't alone. A baby cried from the cradle nearby. Her son, Thomas Nathaniel, named for both the men who'd shaped her life. Maggie was 10 now, helping Ruth with her younger children, already talking about being a teacher someday. Lily was 8, running through the fields with Samuel's youngest, laughing, free. And Nate was beside her, always beside her, building, working, loving. "You ever regret it?" he asked. "Staying instead of going to Montana?" "Never. Do you regret asking me?" "Best decision I ever made. Even when I'm stubborn. Especially then." She smiled, looked at the house they'd expanded, the barn they'd rebuilt, the fields they'd planted, all of it built from nothing, from desperation turned into determination, from survival turned into living. "I got the money, you know," she said. "From James. It came through last month." "I know. What are you going to do with it?" "I thought maybe we could use some of it to buy more land, expand the ranch, make it big enough to pass down to the children someday. And the rest, save it, for Maggie and Lily, for when they're older, so they never have to eat rotten apples, so they never have to walk through the snow with nowhere to go." Nate kissed her temple. "You're a good mother." "I try, though I wonder sometimes what James would think, about all this, about us. I think he'd be grateful, that his family survived, that his daughters are happy, that you found a way forward instead of drowning in grief. You think, I know, because that's what I'd want if our positions were reversed. I'd want you to live, to love, to be happy. Even with someone else. Especially with someone else. Better that than alone and broken." Abigail thought about that. About James in that tunnel. About his last thoughts. About whether he'd known how much she loved him. How hard she'd tried. She hoped he had. Hoped he'd died knowing he was loved. And she hoped wherever he was, he could see them now. See his daughters thriving. See his widow happy. See the life that had grown from the ashes of what they'd lost. She hoped he knew she'd never forgotten him, never stopped loving the man he'd been. But she'd also moved forward, built something new. chosen happiness over grief. And maybe that was the greatest tribute she could give him. Not endless mourning, but living well, raising their daughters to be strong and kind and brave. That evening, the whole family gathered for dinner. Maggie and Lily told stories about school. Baby Thomas slept in Abigail's arms. Nate talked about expanding the cattle operation, and sitting there at the table, surrounded by noise and life and love. Abigail felt complete, not because everything was perfect. It wasn't. Not because there was no pain. There was always pain. But because she'd survived. They'd all survived. And more than survived, they'd thrived. From rotten apples to fresh bread. From frozen desperation to warm abundance. From strangers to family. From barely living to fully alive. After the children were asleep, Abigail and Nate stood on the porch, watching the stars. "Thank you," she said quietly. "For what? For not letting us die that night. For taking us in. For giving us a home. You gave me a home too. This place was just walls before you. You made it a home. We made it together. Yes, together." They stood in comfortable silence. Two people who'd lost everything, who'd found each other in the darkest moment, who'd chosen to build instead of break. "Nate," Abigail said, "do you believe in fate, that we were supposed to meet? I don't know, maybe. Or maybe we just got lucky. Two broken people in the same place at the same time, both stubborn enough to keep trying. I like to think it was meant to be. That everything, James leaving the walk, the storm, the rotten apples, all of it led us here. To this. Does it matter? We're here now. That's what counts. No. I suppose it doesn't matter." She leaned against him. He wrapped his arms around her, and they stood there together. Under the Wyoming stars, in the home they'd built from nothing. A home made of second chances and hard choices and the courage to try again. A home where rotten apples had led to fresh starts, where strangers had become family, where survival had turned into something better than mere existence. It had turned into life, real life, full of love and laughter and the messy, beautiful work of choosing each other every single day. And standing there in Nate's arms with her children asleep inside and the future spread out before them like an open road. Abigail Morgan Cartwright knew one thing with absolute certainty. She was home. Not the home she'd lost in Pennsylvania. Not the home she'd walked toward in Montana. But home nonetheless. The home she'd built with her own hands. With her own choices. With a man who'd shown her that kindness wasn't weakness, and love wasn't betrayal, and starting over wasn't giving up. It was the bravest thing you could do. And she'd done it. They'd all done it. And they were going to be okay. Better than okay. They were going to be happy. Because sometimes, the worst moments lead to the best ones. Sometimes, rotten beginnings yield sweet endings. Sometimes, the thing that nearly destroys you becomes the thing that saves you. And sometimes, if you're very lucky and very brave, strangers become family shelter, becomes home, and survival becomes the foundation for a life worth living. That was their story. That was their truth. And it was enough. More than enough. It was everything.